Welcome, guys. Once you complete this session, you'll be understanding about the Jenkins or build server, what it is, why exactly do we need it in the project completion, and it's a part of the project that you will be making. Let it be. Jenkins is not only specific to Java, but any of the language, any of the framework. It is let's deep dive into it and about it. Okay. So we have one project. Yeah. So you can go into my repositories here. You can check the repositories and get the code here. I have cloned it in one of the place that's Java Training Spring Mockito. You can get this code access in my repository, uh, whose description will be in the link below. Okay. So let's open the code. Yep. So if you go through a normal code or any project, like not only will be in this session, I'll be very specific to Java and not and Jenkins. I repeat the important point. Jenkins is not just specific to Java Spring framework or anything, but it can be used for any programming language platform or any tools frameworks there. Okay, so this is the structure of the Spring, which has the source. Inside the source, you have the main folders and then the test cases for the same. Okay, so if you see the main Java, inside the resources, you have application properties. Fine, this is used to connect to the data source or any database in the background. But main thing is your RESTful and services, REST vehicle controller. What does this do? Anybody who is actually when this code is hosted on the local, so you can hit it from the local and then run it, or if it is hosted in the production server or any server, testers will use the postman and hit the rest endpoints, uh, whichever domain name they have used slash demo, or if they are running in the local host 8080, whichever port they are using. Okay, just let me check the connectivity. Yeah, fine. So at the slash demo and slash vehicle, this will give you a list of all the vehicles that are there, because this is a get map get, and this also with any vehicle number, for example vehicle slash 2 slash 3 slash 4, if you give, it will give you those vehicle details. So this session or the topic or the training or workshop is not training on the REST endpoints, but only the difference. Like if you run this application on the local or maybe on the any server, the code will be visible, and you'll be able to test the code. So basically, this is the uh, coming to the important point, that when you write down your code, you'll also be writing the test cases for the same. So it's like in the main, you have then the same test cases, which you will write it using Mockito or JUnit test cases. Okay, let's see one of the test case. How it looks is that controller, right? Vehicle controller, you have the actual code with four or five, three get and two post REST endpoints. Let's see in the demo, we have a simple test case which is actually testing the same. Okay, the test case would be like for one controller. For example, like take the last one, which is deleting the vehicle. Okay, so one good case and one exceptional case will be written. So we will get all the, we'll write down the test cases using Mockito or JUnit, and then you'll be mocking the beans, mocking the pojos, and also the services, and you'll be writing these test cases. Okay, now why I am actually stressing a lot about the test cases, and I'm also stressing about the actually, if you see the services, inside the services is actually get all vehicle. So if you see the implementation of those services, so basically you have one thing that's a REST controller. Let me draw it in my own way. You have this controller. This controller will go to an interface. From this, it will these interfaces will be having the implementation. That's the service implementation. Service implementation. Then it will go to the DAO layer, or you'll be using DTOs to actually fetch from the database. Okay, so this is the normal REST endpoint. These REST endpoints could be get, if it is to get hit the rest endpoint and get from the database. If it is put, then it is like get editing in the database or editing in the resources there. Post is also, so you will have a one interview question, that's what's the difference between put and post. Okay, so as an assignment you can take it and understand, have hands on with put and post. This topic is on the Jenkins, so let's deep dive into it, what it is. You will have a requirement, right, where you will be using your classes, you'll be using the functions, you'll be using the variables, right? The naming convention of the classes, the naming convention of the variables and functions, with many other features to be added, basic mandatory features like logging should be there so that monitoring and logging can happen. Then try catch block, making sure that the code is so resilient and so this is good that even if you get any exceptions, it is not actually stopping in the mid or not getting stopped abruptly. It is having a normal flow. Okay. So there are many things. First, if you see the service implementation, what you can see is that the naming convention, the so you can use a sonar linting as a plugin in the IDE. If you're using Eclipse, you can have that particular plugin. Or if in the IntelliJ also in the marketplace, you can find it, which this link will be provided. How? Why do you need a linting? Is that let's you have a source code, right? You have the repository which is having the main. This is the main repository, and every developer will create their own branch. Okay, and this is a developer. It says branch. He will have his naming conventions on the branch, and then he will clone. He will clone or he will pull. By creating the branch, he will check out to this branch, and then he will start writing his code, whichever ticket he is assigned to. For example, homepage. Okay, he will push the code to the branch, and from here he will raise a PR to actually merge it. Okay, parallelly there are other developers who are creating the branch and getting a local copy of the hello world Java or Spring Boot project. And anybody who is before raising a PR, they have to take the, so for example, like developer who has written his own code with the hello world plus, because once he took a clone, he'll be getting the hello world code, and he will be writing his own code, testing it locally and getting a screenshot that yes, he will be writing the actual functionality. Maybe he's writing the implementation, service vehicle implementation, then the unit test cases for those. He will run those unit test cases, may pass it successfully, right? Make the line coverage up till 100% or 90%, or maybe if he's able to do it 95%, let's keep it. So he will push it to the branch, then he will raise a PR. Now, what happens is that this PR will be reviewed by the senior architect or senior programmers, whoever is assigned with that responsibility. So, in the end of the evening, when all the developers are done with their task, they'll raise the PR, log off, leave for the day. Okay. Then in the evening, there is stipulated time where maybe some 6 to 8 o'clock, all the architects they'll have a call and they'll review the PR. Yes, he needs to create a home page. He has tested it, and he has pushed the code. Yes, it is merged. Everybody's PR is merged. So this Hello World program, just a Hello World Java Spring Boot program, will now contain the day two when all the developers will come back. It will contain. Uh, the PR, if this is merged, the home page, if this PR, that's the contact us page with front end. We are only speaking about the backend contact us page, because the repository only could represent only one thing, that's front end or the backend. It can be then deployed to the development server or regression server. So home page, contact us page. So the next day when the developer is actually starting, he will take the full origin and he'll take a copy, because these two extra things are added. Of course, this is the part is he is having. Then the contact us page code also he downloads, that is called full origin. He starts for the day and he adds up its code maybe for the second ticket or the existing ticket. then he pushes it to the branch, he raises the PR, the cycle goes on. Now what happens is that where is the Jenkins here? Why do we have a Jenkins? Is the question. I'm going on mute for 5 seconds. Just have a brainstorming where the Jenkins will come into picture. Yeah. So think that what can go wrong here? A particular developer after the repository is having some 50,000 lines of code, many of the services developed in a microservice way or non-microservice way, whichever is the project, agile, non-agile way it is following. Now the developer, one of the developer has pushed the code without actually testing the code and without actually writing the test cases, or maybe a corrupt code he has merge it into the branch and raise the PR. Okay. So what's the process in this? In this is that whenever the code is actually written by the developer, he needs two things. One is he needs to build it, he needs to run it, he needs to test it in the local, test that functionality is working good. These are the minimum things that is required from a developer, and known mistakes on that side. Think that one of the developer has made that mistake. He merged the PR and then this PR is reviewed. Of course, it will be reviewed, and by mistake it was merged into. Now, once it is merged at one, think that 1 p.m. it was merged, and everybody is taking that copy. Everybody, a new developer has come at 2 p.m. and then he created his own branch, and then he started pulling and he started writing. And later that day, uh, everybody's they had took the full origin, they took the copy of the corrupt code. So there would be a all ripple effect that because of this guy, most of the project, this other developers, even in the local, even in the project little bit, there would be meetings, and everybody would just log in to check what went wrong. So it's a mandatory thing for any developer, let it be he's a senior or a junior, to actually build it, run it, test it successfully, and write down the unit test cases, use the plugins as linting, remove whatever the recommendations in the linting, you get it right in the terminal, whatever the recommendations you would, for example, he has written a some comment, even those comments are, if it is not necessary, then sonar linting will be giving you recommendation, or it will say that it's an issue, remove this code. Okay, so linting will take care at the local level only as a plugin in the tool. Now, one of the mistake one of the developer has done. So what would happen is that there would be a build server. Okay, and server which is called as a build server. Okay, now what is this? This could be a Travis or Jenkins. Okay, I'm going on mute for 5 seconds. Let me know what does these things do. Yeah. Okay. So this build server, I'll be only speaking about Jenkins because I'm very hands-on with Travis and also Jenkins, and this session is for the Jenkins. Okay. So Jenkins, you will be writing all the rules. Okay. It will check that before this code is getting deployed to the development. Okay. Uh, the testers, once it is successfully deployed into the development and every developer has merged it merged it and it is deployed in the development, the testers will log in into the development, they'll use a URL. If it is a web application, they'll hit domain name and dev with the port, and they will start testing the home page, they'll start testing the contact us page, back end, front end, whichever way they want to test it, good case, bad cases. Now what happens is that if there is due to Jenkins, it will check each and every part, whatever rules you have written. Okay, by default, the unit test cases should have the line coverage. If you have put the coverage as 90%, then if any developer is pushing the code and this is going through the build, okay, through the build server, that particular code or the whole project will be checked for many things. That is, at the class level, it will be checked for the naming convention, Java standards, variable naming convention, function naming convention, if there is any code extra written which is unreachable. All these things at the linting level will be cleared, but again, Jenkins will test it. Then the unit test cases are all passing or not within coverage of 90%. Maven dependencies are there or not. Every project from end to end it will check, and then only it will be deployed to the development server. Tester will test it. Now the Jenkins, you can trigger the Jenkins to again check if this existing code is following all the rules, yeah, like the coverage, the naming conventions, the all the sonar linting recommendations is removed, not issues are removed, warnings are removed, so everything is good, then only it will be deployed. Now think that day 24, one of the developer has pushed the code to his branch, and currently the code has increased a lot, and then he pushed it. Now you can also trigger that whenever this repository is merged with a new PR, automatically this will go to the build and automatically it will be deployed in the day if it is good enough, following all the standards, rules, conventions, and the coverage, unit test cases, everything. Mm, and the very after just 5 minutes, another developer raised a PR and his PR was merged. Then automatically that PR will be merged with the existing. So this is called as a continuous integration. You have an existing code, somebody raised a PR as a developer, they raised the PR, this code is integrated and then pushed directly to the Jenkins. There is a connection between this if you're using a Git server, or if you're using Bitbucket or any other tools or technologies as a version control, it will be directly pushed to the build server, and from the build server it will be pushed after checking that all the rules that you have set or this. If anything fails, right, you can see in the log files that something has failed, it goes red. If and it failed due to this, it failed due to less coverage, it failed, you get all the reports, you get all the things in the logs, you can again ask that particular developer to fix those things. He will push it to the branch, raise the PR again, and automatically, if it is passed, it will be pushed to the development. Now, after this development is totally done, you can change the path, push it to the regression. Testers will test it. Your phase, project phase, would be in the regression phase. Then, after all this goes good, then it will be pushed to the production. Okay. So in this way, Jenkins is actually useful, so that any developer does any mistake, he forgets anything, he forgets to write the unit test cases, not coverage of 90%, he gives a lot of comment, which is not taken care by sonar linting. Some by mistake you have forgot the add the rules, edited the rules but not saved it. So the Jenkins would be able to rectify those before it goes into the development server or the regression server or SAT1, SAT2, or the prod server. Okay, in this way. So if you have any questions, just ping me. I'll be available. That is it. Thank you.